Now, the long-running dispute between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Process and Industrial Development Limited, otherwise known as P&ID, came to a close, as it were, yesterday in the UK, where the court ruled that the contract for which Nigeria was billed to pay a sum of nearly $11 billion for allegedly violating the terms of the contract. But of course, His Lordship, who gave a decision, said the contract was founded on fraud, and so it couldn't stand. A major victory widely celebrated in Nigeria yesterday and elsewhere around the world. We have joining us this morning to discuss the issue further. A regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria is Ahmed Abubakar Tanimu. He's a former banker, a legal practitioner, and human rights activist. Tanimu, we're glad to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
What are your thoughts on this judgment?
I'm so happy, just like most Nigerians. The celebration is ongoing, but I think our attention should be focused more on the lessons learned and yet to be learned. It's an essential threat. We know the consequences and what the country would have been paying by now. It will be on all of us. It will maybe impact worse than fuel subsidy removal, because it's a judgment, and to enforce the judgment, they can garnish any of our foreign account, and we know what the consequences on our economy and everything. So we have every reason to celebrate. But as I said, we need to look inwards. You know, litigation and the outcome of litigation is as a result of series of events. There is deliberate negligence, collusion, connivance, and conspiracy of some few. As a legal practitioner, I do consult for government agencies. I represent some governmental departments in drafting agreement. It's not rocket science. There are terms and conditions. Any literate person, you do things you don't understand, you can do your research, you can Google search it, you can call lawyers, you can call people experts in the field, and they will tell you the implication of certain words, certain registers, so you know what at the end what it will translate into if it is violated. It worries me a lot. Various ministries, government agencies are signing all sorts of agreements, and if you look at this one is the one that is out there for everybody to see and comment on. There are so many P&ID agreements that are already in operation.
P&ID types
of an agreement that are in operation. People are cashing out of it. They are milking the government dry. So it calls for, we should have a comprehensive review, comprehensive compendium of all agreements. In fact, we can set a threshold. Agreement above certain amount, so many departments, private individuals should be involved. A simple term can outdo the entirety of an agreement, and it will defeat the essence. You need people that are experienced. You need people that are on the field. Let me give you a typical example. Why do we have our roads are always in bad condition? When you are writing an agreement, we are not engineers, but ordinarily from experience, you should be able to put certain clauses that will talk about maintenance, that will talk about warranty, guarantee, that will protect the nation. Then if you have people now deliberately circumventing, I'm glad some of the actors are being prosecuted, because it's not a mistake, it's a deliberate act.
Yeah, let me ask you again. Is it a closed case? And so, like, I mean, time for celebration. And the celebration is because what Nigeria, would have lost in terms of international assets and all that would have paralyzed the country.
Yes, so it is.
So it's a closed case.
It's a closed case because you see now it talks about it borders about the type of litigation that we have. If it is in Nigeria now, they want to proceed to the Supreme Court. Every case will go to
first appeal court,
Supreme Court. Some will even go to ECOWAS court and will try to go to African court or the Constitutional Court and the rest. And some will even see they are going to Hague, and it doesn't work that way. Over there in advanced climb, what you do is that by the time you want to appeal, you are going to set. We have it in our laws, but we don't. Unfortunately, we don't implement it. There are certain costs that you are supposed to set aside, very humongous costs.
Yes.
That in the event you want to appeal, and if you appeal and you fail, then you will lose that money. You will not even wait for you to file frivolous application, and the court will fine you, and you will not pay. We have senior advocates that have been fined by the Supreme Court until date. We don't know if they paid such fine, but there you deposit those money so that if you are filing a frivolous action, by the time the appeal is dismissed, you lose the money. Even the solicitor will have consequences.
The money that Nigeria paid, to I'm trying to
the professional fee?
Yes.
Yeah.
To get the case, suspended for a while, pending when, that's the $200 million. What happens to it now that Nigeria won the case?
It will be refunded. It will be refunded.
Oh.
You see, this is the security deposit we are talking about.
Okay.
So it's not professional fee. Professional fee will be for the private lawyers that were consulted.
But
majorly,
I don't know. Tell me, I want to bring us back to one of the issues you raised earlier, and that for me has been more concerning. Because while the P&ID case lasted, on Good Morning Nigeria, we had, I'm just trying to recall now, probably about 3 or 4 conversations on that subject matter. At least 2 of them with the then Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, SAN. He had just come back from the UK, where they had gone to prosecute the matter. On another occasion, it was then with the then Minister of Information. And some of these issues were in circulation. That now the court has held that this contract was founded on fraud. And as you know, fraud is a vitiating element in the validity of a contract. How was it possible for some Nigerians to have participated in this kind of attempt at raping our national patrimony?
very simple. That's what I'm saying. It's happening as we are speaking. It's a continuous and it's in all facets. You go to, I don't know, every ministry, every government department, institutions, it's still going on. What happened is that some people see it as a way of livelihood. It's their time. They live above their means. They are legal officers. They are supposed to be patriotic. There are certain conditions. For some of us, we rather sacrifice what we are getting to point it out that you need to do certain things. It's not rocket science. Anybody can see the lacuna. So it's not, if it's a mistake, it's a different, it's a deliberate act. You are making agreement. You know that you are the one that everybody have a role to play, and the role on your own part is higher than the person that is not contributing anything. It's like you having a piece of land, you're giving a piece of land to a would-be developer, and in the agreement, the developer now is now putting terms and conditions that doesn't make sense, and he is adding no value. He just came in, I'm a developer, I can parcelate your land and sell. Anybody can do that. You can do that. But you now get a lawyer, maybe through collusion, they are giving him a choice corner piece in the particular building. Then he can put all sort of agreement in all sort of conditionalities, terms to your detriment. Meanwhile, you own the land. That is exactly what they are doing to the government. They are ripping the government. They are ripping Nigerians.
You know, Tanimu, I just want you, for the benefit of the viewer, again to put into context, what Nigeria would have lost. Just give us a scenario so that we understand the magnitude of this victory. We understand, the import of this victory. What would have happened?
If I, as I said, it was an existential matter that is about life and death for the country. On my own part, I try not to equate it in terms of monetary terms. It's not like the regular judgment or some of the judgment that you get here, you appeal, you file for stay. In abroad, it doesn't work that way. At the moment the judgment is given and you are not taking any steps, and after a given period of time, we did not take these steps we are supposed to take, and your accounts, you have foreign accounts, they will just garnish the whole account. If it's not even up to it, your ship, you have ship international on the water. Anything that you have,
forfeitures,
yes, and seizures.
Like what assets?
Ships, our embassies, so many things. In fact, I don't think if paying that amount would, so it doesn't make sense. And I don't expect anybody, if we had paid, and you see that I said we have something, we have so many kind of cases that are similar to this, is because of the quantum. That is why they refused this. And so we must give kudos to the then Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami's SAN, the president, because just imagine if he had looked the other way, and that's why we have other cases of all those oil companies.
And in recent weeks, there has been a spat between former President Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Olo Agunloye, who was Minister of Power under his tenure, and this relates to a contract for the hydro project somewhere in Mambila, and so on and so forth. So they've been toing and froing as to whether approval was given, whether fake approval was given, or otherwise who authorized the contract to proceed. That's one of the things you're talking about. But I remember also some years ago that this issue came up. Namely, we're talking about contracts now. It turns out that there are some government officials, civil servants, public servants, who go to international organizations, conferences and meetings and enter into obligations, binding the country, and these obligations have financial implications. I don't know whether they've been able to do that. The country has no record, a comprehensive record of our obligation. Each time you hear subscription is due, this one, other one is due, the other one is due, you are supposed to do the, how do we get into all of this? Isn't there supposed to be a clearinghouse, for instance, Ministry of Justice?
There should be, and that is part of the responsibility of the Ministry of Justice. You see, because we are operating in an analog manner, and some people are deliberately making effort to circumvent the system. Agreements, contractual obligation you are supposed to carry the Ministry of Justice along, so that in the event of any challenge, they will know. You take them proactively, not when you have executed. Yes. Before executing, you seek their clearance, you seek their input. If there are terms and conditions that are unfavorable, that are not favorable to the government, they will be able to take proactive stand and advise accordingly. But if you have gone ahead to do it, some don't have the courtesy of now reporting back to the Ministry of Justice that we have carried out or executed. And the agreement most of those agencies entered is binding on the government. Eventually, it's the federal government that will pay. NTA can go and consummate a transaction. Eventually, it's the federal government, from the same coffers of the federal government, that payment will come from. So we have a problem, and we need to fix the problem. All agreements, all contractual agreements, regardless of the content. Some they will not give it monetary terms. Some they want to make it to look like a futuristic consultancy engagement. And at the end, when you look at the billions, if you look at, let me mention TSA for example, and so there are so many of such contracts, and some of those contracts, people have been executing contract, amending it out and without even executing it, and they don't have any consequence. The Mambila project that you talked about is still lying there, and billions have gone down the drain. All the is it the Nigerian air project, billions? So you ask yourself, there are documentation for all this, and nobody is being asked to account for it. Nobody is asked questions.
Okay, just in 60 seconds, do you think this was fate smiling on us, or it was a well thought out, process, diligent thought out process? Because there were monies, settlement monies that would have been paid somehow. First of all, it was President Goodluck, former President Goodluck Jonathan, that held back, the payment of the first initial amount of money and passed it on to former President Muhammadu Buhari, and then things started unfolding before the Vice President, former Vice President, also, indicated there could be possibility of fraud.
If you look at the consequences and the implication of making such payment, you don't need any scientist, any lawyer, any judge to tell you that it is fraud. And if you pay, the consequences will be on all of it. There are some monies that when you steal it, you know that you have murdered sleep.
But there is something, and this is for the legal profession, arbitration. Yeah, we talk about alternative dispute resolution and so on and so forth, and you have people writing all kinds of qualifications as suffixes to their titles, and then we enter into these agreements. The arbitration clause domiciles the. You are smiling.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I said it's not a rocket science.
Yes.
A legal officer that just left the law school will tell you this is wrong.
Tanimo, I have to sign you out.
No. Let him explain. No. Listen.
A legal officer in the law school will tell you this is wrong.
Him a question.
Yes.
Let him explain. Namely, why is it that sometimes the location for arbitration is something where we know that jurisdictions that will give us problems?
For some, it is about the benefits.
Precisely.
Thank you. Ahmed Abubakar Tanimo Esquire, former banker, human rights activist, and private legal practitioner. Thank you very much for coming to Good Morning Nigeria. All right, Kingsley.
So that's it for us on the program today. Thank you for being with us. Tomorrow is another day, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, look after yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Look after yourselves as well. Have a great day.